my plan was to go from Alaska to Seattle to Taiwan to Bangkok, stay 5 to 7 months, go to however many countries, and just kind of live my best life in Asia. But let's rewind that. And here's what actually happened. I flew Alaska, Seattle, Taiwan, Bangkok, stayed 3 months, and then flew Bangkok, Japan, Seattle, Alaska. And now I'm back, and it hasn't even been, well, it's just about been 5 whole months since I left for Asia. And I'm already back, and I'm so sad to be back, but you can never plan for an international, worldwide pandemic. So here we are. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Josephine and this is Joe on the go, except I'm not on the go because no one's on the go and it's coronavirus pandemic. This whole thing started mid-January when I was just casually talking to my parents on the phone, which I did pretty frequently while I was in Thailand, and one of my parents was like, hey, have you heard about the new virus that broke out in China? And I was like, no. Like, haven't heard anything about it. Like, what is it? Told me a little bit about it, but I was still like, oh, interesting. Didn't think much of it. And from that day forward, I don't think there was another day during my whole time in Thailand that we didn't talk about the coronavirus at some point in the day. And I had no idea what was coming from that point on. So after that was in the morning, I went to the pool where everyone was hanging out and everyone there was talking about it already. The first person that I met that had really dealt with it already was when my friend and I traveled to Cambodia, and when we were in Cambodia we met someone who became one of our good friends, but he'd been living in China for a little bit and had been teaching English there, and he chose to leave China because of coronavirus. So like over the weeks it slowly started spreading. Thailand got their first case, but in terms of like our daily lives, like every once in a while there'd be like a new temperature checkpoint where we'd have to get our temperature checked, or like our school would put something out about it, but it was never like it didn't really affect us much. So at one point our school in Thailand sent out an email to all of us saying, if you've traveled to any of these, like there were like 4 countries on there at the time, if you've traveled to any of these countries, you are not allowed to come back to school for 2 weeks. And at that time, my friends were in Malaysia, and Malaysia was on that list. They were in Malaysia, and they were like, well, we're already here, so like, I guess we can't go to school for 2 weeks when we come back. And so that was pretty much the beginning where we were like, wow, this is real. Singapore was also on that list, and I had already booked like tickets to Singapore, but they said like, if it's already booked, well, we just thought we'd be able to get away with it if it was already booked. But as that, it was like a week out, and as that date was coming closer to leave for Singapore, we realized that if we were to go to Singapore, 1, we wouldn't be able to go back to school, and 2, we might not be able to get into other countries because Singapore was on the list in so many other countries. And I was also going to go solo travel to Malaysia while I was at it. Didn't think that would be a good idea either. So we canceled Singapore and Malaysia. At this point, it hadn't really hit, or it had barely hit Europe, but we all knew, like, once it hits Europe, it's gonna hit the States, and it's gonna take off in the States. We were correct. And all of our friends in the US were also like, how are you guys doing in Asia with the pandemic? Or it wasn't a pandemic yet, but in Asia with the coronavirus, like, are you having issues? And we were like, no, like, honestly, it hasn't been affecting us that much besides, like, not being able to travel. And they still, like, in the US were like, oh, like, it would never hit us, like, come on. And little did they know. So at this point, Thailand began putting temperature checks pretty much everywhere, like to get into malls, to get into clubs, to get into anything. My apartment complex put a temperature checking thing literally in our lobby. You had to be temperature checked to get up to your own room. And so that's when we started like noticing things around us. In Thailand, people always already wear masks, so that didn't change much, but like you would get on the metro and everyone would be wearing a mask. And at this point, people in the US were still like, yeah, it's not really a big deal, like, it hasn't hit us yet, blah, 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 blah. Okay. We had already booked a ticket to India, and we were like, okay, we'll go there. That'll probably be our last international trip because the borders were closing everywhere. We planned a 10-day trip to India, which is a long time. And when we were in India, we'd been there for like 7 days, and we were monitoring it really closely because everywhere was closing their borders. When we were in India, it was the first time that anyone in my friend group or anyone in like really any of the international students got an email from their school saying, you need to come home, it's getting bad there, like, you're gonna be safer at home. And she was like, absolutely not, no one else is going home, there's no way I'm going home, no. And she told her school that, and they were like, that's not an option. And they booked her a ticket, like the school booked her a ticket and was like, you are on this plane, and she had to leave. But that was when we were in India, and it was like, it's still in a week before she had to leave, so we were gonna finish out our trip, but we were also like, okay, this is getting bad. If schools are calling their students home, like, maybe we should consider getting back to Thailand, just so that if we were to get stuck, we get stuck in Thailand. And as we were discussing that, there were like a group of, so we went in a group of 12, but the group kind of like split in two. And there were like 4 of us in my friend group that were thinking about that. And then there were 2 that were like, oh no, like, we'll be fine, we'll be fine. And like, while we were talking about it, our friends from the other half of our group called and were like, just want to let you know, we're booking flights tonight, like, we need to get out of here, they're closing borders, blah, blah, blah. So, with that, we were like, all right, we all got to book our flights, it's time to go. So then we were on our phones with our international, like, SIM card for India, trying to book flights, and you could just watch them, like, booking up. Like, either the flight price would be going up from, like, $80 to, like, $600, or the flight would just, like, not be there anymore. And that was so scary. Eventually we were able to get flights, and we got them for that night. It was like 2-3 p.m. in like the afternoon, and our flight was at like 9. Change of plans. Coronavirus is a bitch, and we're leaving India because we don't want to get stuck here. And we'll be back in Bangkok tonight, so we're going to one last temple before our flight. We got to the airport, and the board literally just said like canceled, 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 canceled. But like ours, there were like 3 flights that were still on, and ours were on there. So we were super lucky because of that. As we passed through customs to like leave, like get our exit ticket, the person at customs was like, so, you know, like there was a thing implemented today, like if you leave India, you will not be allowed back in India for like the foreseeable future. And that's when we were like, yep, let's leave. Like, now's the time, because everywhere's closing borders, and we didn't want to get stuck out of Thailand. So then, starting at that point, after my one friend her school had emailed her, every single day we'd wake up to a new friend getting an email from their school or their parents saying like, you need to come home, it's time for you to come home. And that was just like so hard on all of us emotionally, like just so emotionally draining, because none of us wanted to leave, but every day there was a new person that was like, I'm being forced to leave. Like my parents are making me, my school's making me, like I have to leave. And that was so hard on us. We all decided to go on one more trip within Thailand because people were leaving. It was a bus ride away from Bangkok, and we were like, yeah, perfect. And so we went on this trip, and we went to Hua Hin, and then we went to Khao Sam Royat National Park. And we had an amazing time. We all rented motorbikes and just motorbiked everywhere, which was so much fun. And while we were there, we tried to get an Airbnb in the national park. And we pulled up to the Airbnb like they were expecting us. We got our keys. They were like, okay, we need like 1 hour to clean it really quick, and then come back and it'll be ready. We were like, okay, so we left with the keys. 15 minutes later, they called us and were like, oh, like, we're sorry, we can't rent it to you because of the coronavirus. And we were like, what? And pretty much, like, people didn't know where we'd been in the last 3 months. They thought maybe we'd come from the US, and they were like, we can't rent to you. And that was the first time that we were like, wow, we are in this place and we don't have anywhere to stay tonight. Turns out we found a little like resort hotel thing that had no one else staying there, and I'm pretty sure they weren't supposed to rent to us, but they did anyways. It was all cash, like pretty much under the table. We were the only ones in this resort, and it was like $15 each a night, which ended up being really nice. But while we were there, like every time we needed a restaurant, they'd be like, oh, where are you from? And we'd be like if we tell them, are they not going to serve us, like things like that. And then when we went back to Bangkok, we ended up going to a restaurant, and they were like, oh no, sorry, we don't have any more food. And then we went to a restaurant right next door, and they were like serving other people at that restaurant that had just denied us. I think it's really important that I add this, that the Thai people are some of the sweetest people I've ever met. And we started to notice how some of them would because we're white and because they didn't know our travel history for the last 3 months, they would get worried about like letting us into their facilities, either like an Airbnb or a restaurant. And we didn't want to be that person that made them worried that we were carrying the virus. And so at that point, we kind of realized that it was better for them and for us to go home and just make everyone feel like safer. And that was really what led us to make the decision to leave. So on this trip was when our whole friend group pretty much collectively all got emails from our school, because my school kept saying like, once Thailand hits level 3, that's when you have to come home. And it was still at level 2, but the US was at level 4. And they were like, okay, Thailand has now hit level 3, it's time for you to come home. But my school still said, like, if you like want to stay there, you can write us an email being like, these are the resources I have, this is why I want to stay, this is who's here with me, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, like, I'm still going to do that. And then my school sent another email being like, so the US government just put out a thing saying if you're abroad, you need to come home now or you could be stuck there indefinitely. So we kind of, on that trip, we collectively decided, okay, we're going to start looking at tickets to go home, which was so sad. And none of us wanted to do it, but it just kind of felt like what we had to do at that point. Okay, so I'm going to insert a couple clips that I took on like my last few days in Thailand, talking about like my feelings about it, because those were very real and raw. The US is a level 4 now. Thailand's a level 3, so I'm literally flying from a level 3 to a level 4 country. And like, yeah, I get that I shouldn't get stuck here, because I don't know when I'll be able to go back, but also like, I have fallen in love with the city here, and I want to stay. I want to come back, and I know I'll be back. I'll be back soon. Hopefully next summer. Maybe I can start something here. I don't know. We are heading back to the States.
I don't enjoy any of this. None of it.
Corona hit the fan. We're going back to the States because we have to, or we're gonna get stuck here. We're ready to see the zombie apocalypse of the United States. I feel very lucky to have gotten 3 months in Thailand, and I made amazing friends that I'm literally gonna have for a lifetime. So no one can plan for a worldwide pandemic. You know what? It is what it is, and now I get to spend extra time with my family in Alaska, and I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. I want to thank all the healthcare workers that were working so hard to try and contain the virus, everything that they've been doing. Like, it's been amazing, all the frontline workers. It's a crazy time for everyone, and I want everyone to try and be kind to one another, kind to the people that are working, the people that aren't working. Everyone's in a tough place right now. The world is going crazy, and we've never experienced anything like this before. So really just look out for your neighbors, look out for your friends, and just treat everyone the way you want to be treated. That is my story in studying abroad in Asia during the coronavirus pandemic. Thanks for watching, and please make sure to subscribe to my channel if you liked this video. Comment, like, whatever you want to do. And I'll be posting more videos about Thailand, Alaska. That's where I am now, and I'll be here all summer. So yeah, you'll see some videos from that. So stay tuned, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.